the intellect is always very short-sighted. It always is cutting up everything into small bits and pieces, which is useful. It's useful for handling practical realities in the world, but it's totally useless when it comes to knowing what is your true nature. It's a bit like this. Once there were 3 blind men who came to see a sage, and they asked him, "What's the truth?" So the sage took them to see an elephant, and he asked each of the blind men to touch one part of the elephant. So one of the blind men, he touched the tail. He said, "Oh, it feels like a rope." Another one touched the belly. He said, "Oh, it feels like a wall." Another one touched the leg. He said, "Oh, it feels like a pillar." And then suddenly the 3 blind men started fighting and arguing with each other about what is the nature of this elephant. And this delighted the sage tremendously. He laughed and he said, "Okay, each one of you is right, but at the same time each one of you is wrong. You're all right in the sense that you've all picked up on small, limited aspects of the truth. But at the same time, you're all wrong because you're clinging to your limited conclusions." And this is what you will find if you're living too much in your intellect, that the more conclusions you create about life, the more assumptions you create about life, is the more and more limited you become. One of the wisest statements that has been said in the history of humanity was by Socrates. He said, "All that I know is that I know nothing." When a human being really comes to recognize his own ignorance, once you know that you don't know, now there's a great possibility of inquiring, of exploring. So once a human being says, "Okay, I'm a seeker," if you're a seeker for truth, you can never be in search of something. If you're in search of something, let's say God, you've already made an assumption that these things exist. So in Zen, it's said that one very insightful statement, in a beginner's mind, all possibilities are available. You're open, fresh. You're not burdened by your past knowledge. Somebody who is too much clinging to his knowledge, it's as if there's a veil over his eyes. He can't see anything else beyond his knowledge. But in a beginner's mind, all possibilities are available, but in the mind of an expert, very few. Just like the computer, it has a certain software, and the mind is just following the software. This is exactly what it's like when a human being is living out of unawareness. If a human being is living out of unawareness, then it's as if he's living a very mechanical existence. Just see in 24 hours how much of the time you're responding to things very compulsively. So, part of the quality of a meditative consciousness, it's not about the sitting meditation, because I can sit here, totally still, not even a single movement in the body. I'm sitting here totally still, my eyes are closed, but within myself there's a storm that's going on. Now, is that silence? That's not silence. But if I can be involved in activity, whatever I'm doing, walking, I walk consciously. There's movement that's happening, but within myself, my silence remains undisturbed. Now this is real silence. It reminds me of a statement by one Zen master named Hakuin. He said a statement which is very insightful. He said, meditation in action is much more superior to meditation in stillness. Because think about it, now we're sitting in this room, everything is quiet, everything's to our convenience, there's less chances of your mind getting disturbed, right? But when you're active in the world, in the marketplace, walking down the street, there's all kinds of chaos happening around you. But if you're involved in this chaos, but still within yourself, you're completely silent and fulfilled. Now this is the real test of your silence. So this quality in yoga has been called vairagya. And vairagya, it literally means without color. A bit like this. Let's say there's water into this cup, okay? Now I put some red ink into the water. The water becomes red, but the water still stays transparent. The nature of the water doesn't change. I take blue ink, I put it into the water. Now the water becomes blue, but still the water remains transparent. So that's what vairagya is like. It's a certain inner flexibility. If love happens within me, still the love doesn't rule over me. Still I can enjoy it, I can allow it to be there, but it doesn't rule over me. Or hate is happening. I allow the hate to be there, but again, the hate doesn't rule over me. It doesn't possess my mind. Just like water, even if there are times when you need to be solid and rigid, you can be solid and rigid. This is true flexibility.